church 60 years. I have 4 kids, 11 grandchildren, 5 great-grandchildren, and last night I had an affair. I made love all night to 2 young girls. Can you believe it? At 85 years old. She says, when was the last time you went to confession? And the guy says, well, to be honest with you, I've never been to confession. I'm not even Catholic. So then why are you telling me this story? I said, are you kidding me? I'm telling everybody this story. Good morning, everyone. How you doing? I'd like to thank everybody who keeps sending me in their jokes and everything, so thanks for that. So, anyway, this is our 2nd general membership meeting for this year and our 37th straight quarterly meeting since NCRO went into business. So thank you very much for continuing to support the NCRO organization. Thank you to those who have also joined us on the webinar, and a special thank you to those who have. I'm echoing. And a special thank you to the webinar participants from Ohio. This is the first time that they've joined us, so thank you very much for joining us. I think we had about 150 or so members sign up for today's meeting. Pretty good turnout. I think we're kind of a little bit lower, so keep talking to your friends, NCRO members, about attending these meetings. These are good social events. We get to meet people that we work with. We're all maybe looking a little bit different than we used to, but for the most part, we recognize each other. My name is Mike Sipanera. I'm the MC for today. How was your breakfast? And thank you to the San Marino Club for being our host. I think this is our home base, and we've been here, I don't know, probably 4 years, 5 years, something like that, so they treat us very good. And thank you very much to the wait staff. They're very courteous and efficient. Let me quickly go over a few things. Continue to visit our website at ncro.org. That's where our webmaster and his team try to keep the information relevant and fresh and relative to retirement and seniors and Chrysler and things. So please continue to visit our website. Also, we have retiree-friendly dealers who advertise on our website, and they are a very good source of revenue for us, so please continue to support them, and it's the best way to help keep Chrysler healthy. We do have a representative this morning, and if you can just, Ken, if you want to just introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. I'm really glad to be here this morning. I found this group doing some internet research at my dealership and got talking with Pete, and so I'm here today because I thought, well, there's a number of people, a couple hundred of you that might be looking to move out of your lease into another vehicle, have some ambitions to maybe get a new Hellcat, something like that. Ken, I'm working from Wabash, Chrysler, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. You know we're located about 1 mile north of Piston Palace. We serve a larger community, and I will be around afterwards. It would be my pleasure to talk with anybody that might have a need or any interest, but I'm really glad to be here today, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, on our website, probably the next few days, maybe today, next few days, there's going to be an advertisement as far as our next seminar that our insurance company is putting on a seminar. I think that is for May 18th, and I think it's going to be here at San Marino also. And it'll also be part of the webinar, so stay tuned for that. Please respond to our NRLN action alerts, that's National Retirees Legislative Network, of which NCRO is a member, and all of you as a paying member of NCRO automatically become a member of NRLN. They will periodically send out email action alerts. Please respond to those if you can. That's how our legislators hear from us and encourages them to do retiree and senior-friendly legislation. Bring your attention to the flyer that's on the table from our travel group. take a look at that. I think it's August 22nd. There's a trip, so if you're inclined to take a trip with them, please support them. They do a great job. I'm sorry? There is a May 5th deadline, which is like next week, so a week or so. Quick let's see. Okay, and I want to also thank you for paying your 2017 dues. Thank you for doing that. And also for those who have contributed to the CAF, thank you for doing that. That's how we build up our war chest, and so everybody's been very, very kind on that, so I appreciate that. If you have any questions or issues on your membership dues or something, please see me after, and we'll try to get through that. Okay, let me go through today's agenda. Okay, after I finish here, Jay Kuhnie, our president, will come up and bring us up to date on NCRO news and relative information. And our keynote speaker today, Dale Aldo from Mopar Motorsports, will give us an update and kind of a little historical background. And please feel free to take a look at all the hardware that Dale brought. This is great stuff. And we'll follow it up by Q&A, and I'll probably try to have you up by 12 o'clock noon. So with that, Jay.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, isn't that good? Mike works, isn't that great? No complaints? Wow. Good job, Dale. I know that for some of you who haven't been here, that might sound like crazy, but if you've been here, you know that it's not crazy, right? It's a lot easier. I don't have to scream. I can talk, and this is working great. So, a couple of quick ones before we get into some of the things I want to talk to you about. First of all, I'll reiterate some of the things that Mike said, not because I don't think he said them right, but because I think we need to hear it twice so we remember. Come on. Or maybe so I can remember. First of all, as we do these things, one of the things that we try to do is we're trying to not be so Michigan-centric, because sometimes because most of our members, a large portion are in Michigan, we try desperately to spread kind of the word of the NCRO outside of that and to do activities with the members that are not living in Michigan. So we have, as Mike said, we have a group down in Toledo. We're working with it because we know with the construction on I-75 and all the issues that's going on, it's difficult for some of the members to come all the way up from Toledo. So we've got a group down there, and we're working on a webcast for them to kind of expand ourselves there. We're hoping that that will work and that we'll get more of our Toledo brethren involved. We also have, and you may know this or not, we also have a national webcast that we have some 30 people across the United States that are listening to us as we speak here. They don't get to have breakfast unless they have at their house, but but we do have about 30 people outside of Michigan. I know we have a group in California that get up early. So we welcome all of you that are not here with us and that are on the webinars, and we thank you for being a participant there. The last one is May 18th. For some of you, you've been through our seminars that the insurance committee put together. Those seminars are basically, the lead part of that has always been aging into Medicare, and that's to kind of get us ready for the kind of issues that we all run into. But I know that there's a lot of us that are way past the aging into Medicare, and way into Medicare, so to speak. So one of the things that the group is working on diligently, and it'll be a large portion of the presentations at this webinar, at this event, will be on elder care. And I think that's for those of us who have aging parents or ourselves, and how do we set things up for our kids so we can manage our affairs as we've gotten a little bit older. So, and I recognize you guys. I don't know what Mike's saying. He said that you guys are changed from when you were working. I don't think we look different, do you? Thank you. I didn't think we did. So that's enough of the falderall bills. We welcome you and thank you for coming in and supporting us. So I'm going to take you through a couple of things quickly. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can, but but give you as much as I can tell you what we're trying to work on. First of the three things are some expansion, NCRO expansion efforts. And even the board doesn't necessarily know I'm going to talk to you about this part of it, but I wanted to share with you some of the things that we're doing to expand the NCRO from where we are today to grow ourselves a little. Second, I'm going to update you. I don't know if anybody here is involved in the pension overpayment issue, but it's something that we think about. I will say daily, but I'm not sure it's daily, but it's pretty close. Giving an update on where we are with that, what we think is going to happen, then a little bit of an update on our Washington activities and where we're going from there. Expansion efforts. Like I said, talked a little about trying to not be so Michigan-centric. So we do the webinar in Toledo, we have the webinar outside of that, and we're going to expand those activities. In addition to that, we've had some meetings in other areas. We did, a group of us went down to the Toledo group, the Toledo Peering Through group, and met with them. Had about, what, Joe, we had maybe 40 or 50 people down there in that meeting. And it was an excellent meeting with that group, and it was good to be with them. I happened to go down last month to Florida and meet with the group in the southwest Florida area, out of St. Pete and that area down, all the way down, up and down the coast. There was about 30 or 40 of our members from the group down there. It wasn't too bad to go down in Florida in March, early March. I will tell you though, it was one of those boondoggles. I got there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon and left about 3 o'clock the next day, so it wasn't like I had a lot of time to play golf or do whatever. So, but I did have a great opportunity to speak to a really good group down there, and we're trying to stay close with that group. I also I haven't talked to the board about this one yet, but I also have talked to a guy named Mike Coughlin. Anybody know Mike Coughlin? Some people might even be on Mike Coughlin's blog. I don't know if you are or not, but Mike was an old sales guy that's in California, and he's got a pretty good group out there, and he sends out a communications blog to a lot of people. And they have meetings out there as well, so I've offered to go out there and spend a little time with the California group. Again, just trying to encourage our members that are not here and don't necessarily have the opportunity to meet with us and make sure they understand what we're trying to do for them, what we're trying to accomplish for them. And the last thing, because we've talked about this on several occasions, told you we've tried on many occasions with FCA to try to get them to help us find retirees. And we recognize that even though we've asked them nicely and they've refused nicely, we understand a lot of that because of privacy issues. So we're not necessarily down on them for not helping us, although it would be nice if they would allow us to put a flyer into the early return, the retirees packages, but we'll continue to work on that. But we're looking at another way to do that. So you may see in the next end of May, early part of June, you may see a couple of billboards, outdoor boards out on I-75, just north of the CTC or just south of the CTC. That just says, hey, FCA current retirees or future retirees may want to check in with the NCRO and give them our website. So we're trying to see if we can let some of the other retirees know that don't know about us and what we're doing for them, to at least drive them to our website, let them see what we do for them, and then possibility of becoming a member. So if you see those, stay tuned. We did in fact send a note to, I'll talk to you about that. We did send a note to Mike Keegan maybe a week ago or so, and let him know that, because I didn't want him to kind of drive into the complex and see a big billboard out there that's asking for retirees, and particularly when it says future FCA retirees. So didn't want him to have a wreck when he does that. So stay tuned. You might see those coming up in the next month or so. So just a few things for us trying to get some more people to understand that we do exist. As I said before, it's not money. I mean, Mike said something about war chest. We do. I hate to use that word, war chest, although you never know. One day we may have a tussle in our hands. So we want to be prepared. So that's what we're doing in terms of trying to expand the NCRO. What you can do for us, and I'll talk about that later, about that as well. Next, pension overpayment issue. Like I said, you don't have to tell me, oops. if I screwed that up, I'm sorry.
There goes Ohio.
There went Ohio. Sorry, Ohio there. What have we done so far? I've talked to you a little about this before. We sent a lot of communications to FCA. For those of you who are involved in this, as I said, if you're not involved in it now, we're trying to make sure that you may not be involved in the future, because as it sits right now on the pension overpayment, does anybody know what I'm talking about?
No.
No, okay. Pension overpayment issue. There are some people in the room who are in fact involved in this. What happens is FCA does an audit, basically every year they're required to do an audit on our pension program. And part of that says that they check to see whether or not the process is being done properly, all the things that they do. In fact, what happens is they might find out through this random audit that they've overpaid individuals or underpaid individuals, because in fact there are people I know that have been underpaid and were given money. The concern we have about that is then once they find that, then they do another sampling of other people that might fall into the same parameters that where the mistake was made, and it may be for whatever reason the mistake was made. And if they find additional people, they go back and charge them back for, if they've been overpaid, they go back and charge them back for that. And we've had people that have been charged back for 15 years. Yeah, that's right. And it can be quite frankly, some substantial amounts of money. So for us, this is a huge issue. One, we don't think it should be done. Two, we think we do think that FCA should be doing their audits to make sure things are right. But if they in fact have overpaid somebody, it's our opinion that the overpayment should be made by the supplier that made the mistake or by the company. And in fact, we've been through the IRS, and we've got some things we've done some work on. The IRS, in fact, has sent out a new bulletin that suggests that this is exactly the way it should be taken care of, and that some pension, some of the people who manage the pensions have interpreted the current law improperly and have charged back the retiree. So we're trying desperately to get this under control, and for the company to change its opinion on how it's doing this. Long story short, we've had many conversations, we had meetings with them, we've been to Washington, we've talked to, like I said, we've talked to the IRS, we've talked to the PBGC, we've talked to the Pension Rights Center, which is doing some work for us on this issue to try to make sure this doesn't happen. I do know that since our meeting in February, I do know that the company, and some of you, and I don't know to the extent this has happened, but some of those individuals that were affected have received letters from the company that says they've stopped taking the payments, or they're not going to take the recouping, the recovery, until they find out. They're going back and doing some more analysis. And we think that's because we met with them and told them our situation. And I can't tell you, I'm probably speaking out of turn, there was some positive feedback. That's all I can say. I don't know how this is going to end up exactly, but I sent another note to Mike Keegan last week, just as a follow-up to say, okay, what's happening? Because we've heard that some people have received letters that have stopped recovering payments or recovery activities, and I'm just trying to find out what's going on. So it's just a heads up. If you do know of anybody else that if you run into it, or if you know anybody else that has this situation, please contact me or anybody on the board, and we'll get you on the hopper and see what's happening. But it's something that we take very seriously and believe the company should change their position on, and that's what we're working toward. In that issue, that's the same communication that I just sent to Mike. That's where I told him about our outdoor board, so he doesn't get too upset with me. So that's the last thing on what we did. We suspended some effective sent communications, and we'll hopefully in the next week or so we've asked for another meeting with the FCA guys to sort of follow up on it. I hate to say this, but we've sort of told them that there's been two major issues that the NCRO has been involved in. First one was bankruptcy. We've talked many times about what the NCO did involved in the bankruptcy and trying to get our pensions for salary people onto the new company versus going to the PBGC. We told them basically this is our second most important issue that we've run into. And the reason, and I know when I say this, I don't mean it wrongly. It's not just for the 30 people or so that we've had contact us and that we're working with trying to get this straightened out, but it's with the other 20,000 salaried retirees that are actually possibly under current circumstances could be affected by it as well, because any one of us in this room, I dare say, maybe Deb, because Deb was really good at this when she did this, but and maybe John Glotzbach, who was and those that were in HR. But I know personally, I had the sliced idea that they made a mistake on calculating my pension. I had no idea, and they could have. And if I come up in one of these random audits, they could come back and tell me, whoops, we overpaid you and we're going to collect from you. And I don't know about you, but that would scare the living daylights out of me. Depending on so it's an important issue that we're looking at. So for those of you involved in this room, stay tuned. We're working hard on it, and hopefully we don't have to use any other war chest to deal with it. Next thing, real quick, NRLN. We use the NRLN specifically for issues outside of our FCA issues. That doesn't mean they don't kind of correlate, because we do a good job of pushing the NCRO agenda items onto the NRLN, particularly bankruptcy issues and changing things in bankruptcy. There was a Washington Fly-in on the 13th and 14th of March. There were 10 of us that attended. That's 1/3 of the entire group that was there for the NRLN. So we are a major force in what goes on. Interestingly, though, we got there, and that was I don't know if you guys remember, maybe a month ago when Washington almost got shut down because they had like 5 or 6 or 7 inches of snow. Well, we were there. Let me tell you what, in Washington, when they have snow, it's cold and it's ugly. But interestingly, we only lost one of the 12 meetings we had set up. So we had 11 meetings that we actually met with our Congress people. And frankly, they were pretty good meetings. We had their attention. And we did a real good job of making some good presentations. The advocacy issues we talked about, I won't go over them in a lot of depth, although I will tell you that critical to our activities is if there is a replacement, and we talked to both Republicans and Democrats, if there's a replacement for the ACA, there are certain things that we believe are mandatory that need to be continued out of the ACA, whether you like it or not, the ACA. There are some major things that we think need to be there. Annual wellness exams, closing the donut hole, Medicaid assistance for long-term care, and this is a big one, pre-existing conditions, and we think that it needs to be expanded, but the pre-existing conditions issue need to be there. Same thing with age 26 for kids and all that stuff that's there, but there are these are the key ones we think need to be in there. We also believe they need to pass bills to allow for safe importation of drugs from Canada, and that was a big thing. We think instead of that, we would much prefer that Congress would lower prescription drugs by allowing for Medicare to negotiate drug prices. We talked about that. We also believe there needs to be a request for legislation to require pension plan sponsors to obtain approval from the PBGC or the IRS if they're going to combine pension plans. We've talked about that before for those of you who've heard that. That affected us, and you just now or should have received your current AFN. Hopefully John's got it, and John's working on, John Glotzbach is working on some analysis of it, and we'll send some stuff out to you, and maybe even, John, maybe even in July, talk to him about the AFN and what's going on with it and whatever. You think we can do that, maybe? Say yes. Yes, John. Because it's important for us to make sure we know what's going on. And the last one is a group of them met with the Judiciary Committee to request changes in the bankruptcy laws to better protect pensions and health care in bankruptcy, because there's a lot of things that need to be done there. So a lot of work, a lot of effort that still needs to be done with Congress, and I offer that when we come up the next time, if anybody wants to go, I did this before, if anybody wants to come along with us, it's tended to be board members and leaders, although last time we had a couple of people that were just, I'll call them just our normal members came with us. So we had two, one from the Ohio area and one from Michigan. But if you have any idea and a desire to come with us, it'll be probably in around next October, it's coming October. So yeah, maybe September.
now September, but they may change it.
Yeah, we were now September, maybe October. But we'll let you know as it goes. And if you're interested in coming with us to Washington, it's an education. That's all I can say. It is an absolute education to go there and to talk to our representatives. Now, next. Can we go forward? Maybe? Go back. Your fault? That's right. Anyway, last I want to talk about, I did this last time, but I want to continue to do this because I do have a big concern, and it should be concern for all of us. That, membership in retiree organizations for the actions of advocacy are continuing to dwindle. I've looked at Ford's groups, General Moore's groups, they're all kind of dwindling, falling away. The RX drug group is now, they said they were going to close, now they're trying to figure out a way to not close. And there's just a lot of apathy, or just maybe we're getting old and tired. I don't know what it is. And we're not immune to that trend as the NCRO. So I encourage you to continue to be active, and if you know anybody who's kind of fallen off, that you might give them a little bit of a nudge to continue to be active with us, because we can't lose our energy. We really can't. When I look at the possibility of things, and we were talking about this before, when I look at the country and I look at younger people, we were fortunate to have good retirement programs. If you think about our kids, they don't have the kind of retirement programs we have. And then you ask, okay, in our country, how many people are putting away the money that needs to be done for retirement? And there's some real concerns I have in the next 20 years or so for seniors and for our country. And I think it's important for us to argue these things and to work with the government and trying to make sure that government and businesses trying to make sure that the future of our country isn't a welfare state. Now, I'm real concerned. Now, that sounds maybe over the top, and I don't mean it to be over the top, but there's some real concerns going in the next 20 years with what's going to happen with our kids, and with we think that Social Security's got a problem now, or Medicare's got a problem now. You know, with lack of the kind of retirement programs we have set up. So there's work that needs to be done. So what you can do for us is just to be active. When we send you the action alerts, when we talk about things, if you can call your congressman, meet with your congressman, and we'll give you the things to say. If you need that, we can help you with that. But just be active. Be active as a senior. We have the time, and I remember back in the 60s. We all remember the 60s? Were we active? I think we were probably pretty active back then. And I think we need to be the same thing. We need to get that same zeal for advocacy rights for seniors in the future. So I challenge you with that because it's important for us to do, for not only for ourselves to protect ourselves, but to protect our kids in our country. So with that, I'll turn it back to Mike. Thanks a lot.